You are listening to Feeling Good, a podcast for dentists. I'm Dr. Laura Mock, the life coach for busy dentists. This podcast explores how to feel better in all aspects of our lives so that we can be our best leaders. If you have been feeling stressed about being the owner of your practice and you want to change what you are getting at work and in your personal life, you are in the right place. Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Feeling Good. I'm Dr. Laura Mock, general dentist and certified life coach, here to make your life better. A couple pieces of business before you get started. The last couple of episodes that I have recorded for you guys, just myself, I've recommended that you listen to them using video, and you do not need to do this today. If you're on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, whatever, everyone's going to get about the same experience. But just so you know, if you do listen to me on iTunes or Spotify, the video version is always available on YouTube as well. And the easiest way to find that is to go to my website, thelifecoachforbusydentist.com. Okay, that's item number one. Number two, I have been developing the coolest tool for you all. And I'm going to tell you about the tool at the end of this podcast episode. And I have to tell you, it is so handy for some of my HR duties that I have blown my own mind by how well it works. So especially if you are in a leadership position or if you own your own practice, definitely listen to the very end of this podcast episode, okay? Now, last order of business. Well, I want to mention that the name of this episode is Why Your Feelings Matter as a Dentist, and it's not what you think. And I am going to be talking a lot about this today. But after I prepared the script for this podcast, I learned that there has been a second female dentist who has taken her own life since the pandemic started. And amazingly, I actually know both females who took their lives. I know there's a male dentist who took his own life too. And even though prevention of suicide is not a part of my podcast focus today, I kind of want to slip it in there and say, yeah, your feelings do matter. And part of the reason that they matter is because we want you to stay with us. If you're a female dentist and you've been struggling and thinking that you've got problems that can't be fixed, please reach out to a friend, or you can reach out to me. I would love to hear from you, no matter what. And just know that our feelings can get really overwhelming when we're doing this thing that we're doing right now, rebuilding our practices. But we care about you. Your children care about you. We want you to stay with us. Please reach out. And I promise to each of you that if I start feeling like that, I will reach out to one of you as well. Okay, let's get back to this idea at hand. What I want to propose to you is that your feelings as a dentist matter so much. And it's not just because I care about you and I want you to be happy. That's not what I'm talking about right now, even though I do care about you. And it's not because I think you deserve to be happy, which again, I actually do believe that you deserve to be happy. You've worked hard, like really hard, to get where you are right now, and you deserve to be happy, right? But that is not what I'm talking about right now. I am talking about the fact that paying attention to your feelings, the ability to understand your feelings and sort of be in charge of your feelings, is the most important skill that you have as a dentist. And if you haven't really nurtured that ability yet, that's okay. I'm here for you. This is why I'm a life coach. And we're going to talk about why it matters so much, okay? So let's just review for a moment kind of the foundation of what I preach as a dentist life coach, which is the foundation of how we get to the results in our lives. We have a circumstance, which is just any factors that are happening in your life. It might be, I have an appointment to do an occlusal composite today, or today I bought a dental practice, or my 2-year-old has a birthday, whatever. Those are all circumstances. And then we have thoughts. In other words, our mind is interpreting the data that's coming in And the thoughts are sentences in our mind. We all have thoughts to the tune of about 60,000 per day. They're just little sentences or sentence fragments that we're having as we interpret what's happening in our mind. And those thoughts are what generate the emotions in our body. So, for example, with the 2-year-old and their birthday, I might think to myself, I gave that 2-year-old life and I fed her and now she's 2. I'm so proud of her. I'm so happy to be her mom. And then I might feel love. Or I might be like, everybody wants me to throw a party and I don't want to throw this party and be tired. Those are 2 different thoughts and 2 different feelings that come from the thoughts, if that makes sense. And what's really, really important here is that our feelings, not our thoughts or a to-do list or everybody else's expectations, our feelings are what drive what we actually do. So when we're talking about business ownership, the reason that our feelings matter is because if we want to do the things that are good for our business, it starts with our emotions. It doesn't start with our to-do list. I can have a to-do list, but if I feel distracted or discouraged, I'm not going to be doing anything on the to-do list. Does that make sense? So I'm going to dissect that a little bit more for you right now. I want you to understand and think about your business as basically an accumulation of thousands of actions. And I don't even mean thousands of actions since you bought or started the practice. Even in a day, there are thousands of actions that we as dentists and our employees take on in order to accomplish the business of having a dental practice. So if we go back in time, you've got the moment when you decided to open or buy a practice and you took the action of getting a loan. You took the action of buying your equipment. You hired your people. You take good care of your patients. These are all actions that you're taking, and the actions are driven by what you're feeling. And as all of those things, if you add them all up, so make a big pile in your yard of all the little things that you've done, sort of like each stick represents one thing that you did, one thanking a patient or calling a patient or thanking your employee or doing an amazing crown or almost seating your crown, but then it didn't quite fit. So you took a new impression or a scan and you sent it back. All those sticks, if you put them all together, there would be this giant pile that you could have an enormous bonfire with, right? All those actions together make your business. My business is called Marian Dental, and I've got, my people that I take care of, my employees, the bills that I pay, the decisions that I make every day. Aren't you guys tired of making decisions right now? Should we use hypochlorous acid or should we use cavi wipes or ethanol? Should I get the PPP? What PPE should I require of my patients? And who here is tired of hearing PPE and PPE and PPP and getting so mixed up between those 2 things? They're completely different, but it's just so weird that we have both of those in dentistry. Anyway, every action that you have taken has gotten you to right now where you are. All that accumulation, that giant pile of sticks that's sitting in your yard. Are you still with me? Okay. But what I want to do for a minute is talk about some of the more useful emotions that we can have as dentists and business owners. So I want you to just kind of go back in your mind and think about, what did you feel when you first decided that you wanted to be a dentist? Okay, so go back to that moment in your mind when you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to go for dentistry. What did that feeling feel like? The reason that I want you to answer that question is because that feeling took you a long way, whatever it was. It might have been motivated. It might have been confident. It might have been excited. What was it? Because that feeling kept you studying organic chemistry. It kept you getting through physics and finding volunteer opportunities and taking out some giant loans. Oh my gosh, the first time I took out a loan to go to dental school, it was, I think it was $30,000 for that first year. And that was such a huge amount of money for me back then. And I just, Oh, I had so many feelings. I took it up. But I did it because I was excited to be a dentist and I knew that I could do it deep in my bones. I think the feeling that drove me was confidence. Because when I decided to be a dentist, I was sitting with a dentist. I was assisting for him. I was holding the suction and I was watching him and I was like, I know I can do what he's doing. And that confidence drove me. I went home. I changed my classes in school. I made arrangements for a babysitter for my kids. And that confidence drove me and drove me and drove me. You could not stop me. I was going to be a dentist and I did it. So I want you to write down that feeling. So that's a really, really important one that we're gonna mine it or use it for your own quality of life later on in this podcast. Here's another one that I want you to think about. How did you feel when you graduated? What was that feeling? It might have been pride or relief. What did you feel when you graduated from dental school? And maybe if that wasn't a good day, how did you feel when you found out that you passed boards? That's a good one too. And then also, this one's really important. What did you feel when you decided to either start or buy a practice? What was that feeling? Because we're going to want to use that again because it took you far. Look where you are now. And that emotion that you felt, it drove you. And actually, I might say that my feeling was driven when I decided to buy a practice. I was like, I'm doing this. Where's the loan papers? Let's sign it right now. Now, let's take those emotions and just set them on the sideline for a minute because now I want to talk for a minute about some feelings that I have had that are not useful or helpful to having a practice. And if you hear something that feels familiar as I'm going through these, then you can just be grateful that I'm here doing this podcast, always telling you the things that I've done wrong or that haven't been very helpful. The first one that I want to mention is one that I hear from a lot of my clients, and that is shame. Now, we learn to feel shame when we're in dental school, don't we? We have our practicals that we got to pass, and we got to wax the tooth, and it doesn't look right, and we don't know why, or we do the crown prep practical, and we're using that PMMA to make a temporary crown for tooth number 9, and it's supposed to match 8, right? And the mamelons and the lobes and the line angles and everything. And we're just so embarrassed that we can't do it like we could do multiple choice tests in physics or chemistry or biology. And it's a new skill, right? And then we get up into the clinic and we bring the instructor over to look at our first prep. Oh my gosh, my class 2 preps were not pretty. And we're embarrassed. We're ashamed. And I have to say that I got like in a habit of feeling shame. And the natural reaction or the action that we take as humans when we feel shame is to hide. So I look at a crown margin that I did, maybe it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and I can see some decalcification around the margin, and I want to hide from that decalcification. If I feel ashamed, I'm not going to do what's best for the patient in that shameful moment. I'm going to do what I'm driven to do, which is to hide from the thing that's making me feel ashamed. Here's another one that's not very useful. I bet all of us can think of a time when we felt this owning a practice. Discouragement. Raise your hand if you felt discouraged this week. I did. When you feel discouraged, what happens is it puts you in a state of not taking action that helps your practice or your life, whatever it is. When I feel discouraged, what I really end up doing is hiding from the feeling by buffering. And if you haven't ever listened to my podcast before, buffering is when we take another action to cover up an unpleasant emotion. So it could be having a glass or 3 of wine after work, or it could be going shopping instead of fixing the problems at your work, or watching Netflix, or having a cupcake. That's all buffering. It's all covering up that unpleasant feeling. I'll tell you what I do not do when I am feeling discouraged. I don't offer the very best treatment to my patients. If I've already thought to myself today, well, Mrs. Jones really isn't going to want me to fix every tooth that has a mesial and distal crack on a molar, then because nobody cares about what I'm doing anyway, and it doesn't really matter, or whatever. If I say that to myself, I'm not going to say to Mrs. Jones, hey, listen, you got a lot of the cracks that really hurt your teeth. And let's talk about it. Do you want to make a plan to fix these? I'm not going to say that when I'm feeling discouraged, right? I'm just going to be like, okay, everything's fine, Mrs. Jones, see you later. And then go make myself another coffee or something. Another thing that I won't do when I'm feeling discouraged is I don't do a good job of encouraging and thanking my employees. Because when you're discouraged, you're not doing those proactive things. You're hiding from your emotion by buffering. I had this scarcity slump. My 2018, it was not a good year, and I wasn't taking proactive steps to lead. I would show up just a little bit late, kind of do the morning huddle, hide in my office unless there was someone who needed me to drill on their tooth, and I wasn't taking those leadership steps. And I'll tell you what, the numbers showed it in my business. It's not a feeling that you want to stick with if you know how to work around getting discouraged. Now let's get those feelings back out that we were talking about, that you felt when you decided to be a dentist, or when you decided to decided to buy your practice, or when you found out that you passed boards. Confidence. Oh my gosh, when I'm confident, I'm like, my patients are so lucky that I can show them all the ways I can help them to improve their health and help them get what they want. And so I will have frank discussions with my patients, not apologetically, about the things that we could do to improve things if they want to. And I say if they want to, because when I'm feeling confident, I'm not badgering my patient. I'm just like, hey, you've got a great dentist here. If you want to do some things to improve it, I could help you. Or how about, let's see, I said confidence. How about optimism? How about I'm looking forward to the future? So I am giving my employees high fives. I am thanking them. We're looking ahead. We're putting vacations into the schedule, which is so good for business. Have you ever thought about how you come back from a vacation refreshed and ready to talk to your patients, ready to do those big cases, ready to be the leader that you want? If you're not optimistic, if you're negative, if you're living in scarcity, you're not putting those vacations in the schedule. You're telling yourself, I can't afford to do that. Well, I'm here as an aside to tell you, you can't afford not to go on vacation. All right. Now, here's a couple of feelings that I suggest that we engender as business owners. The first one is gratitude. There's so many things that can pull you out of gratitude. Just turn on the news, right? You won't be feeling you won't be feeling grateful. Thank you, brain. 5 minutes after you turn on the news. But how about listening to a book that makes you feel grateful instead? Listen to Oprah or Brene Brown, or listen to one of my podcasts, and keep yourself in gratitude, because when you're grateful, you're the best business owner. You're grateful to your patients. You're grateful to your people. You're grateful for your skills. You're taking good care of people. You're taking the steps that you need to be a good business owner. And here's another one. How about love? I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about love for your baby, your dental practice, which is like a child, isn't it? Love for your patients and your employees. You're going to take the very best care for them. And if you're taking the very best care of your people, your employees and your patients, they are going to take good care of you. It's so easy to make a decision about sending a crown back to the lab when you're in love versus shame or discouragement, right? You're going to do the best thing for your people, and that's going to come back to you. All right. So I can hear what you're saying right now. I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. But Laura, so I can see, yeah, those are super helpful feelings to have, but that's not what I'm feeling right now. And how can I just tell myself, hey, I'm going to feel a new feeling. That's not how it works, Laura. That's what you're thinking, right? I am here as a life coach to tell you that is actually how it works. And there is a technique to it, but it's a technique that any human can learn, and every human should learn it. If you haven't learned yet from a life coach how to make a new feeling, I got news for you. It's the best business decision you could ever make, because your feelings are what drive what you do in your business. So yes, you actually can change how you feel. And not only can you do it, but you, the listener of this podcast, you're the only one who can do it for yourself. Your spouse can't do it. Your employees can't do it. Your patients can't do it. Your vendors can't do it. Only you can change what you're thinking and feeling. And you can do it. Trust me. Our feelings come from ourselves. And this is the art of coaching. This is what I learned to do going back to school. Even though I was already a dentist and the owner of a successful dental practice, I went back to school and I learned how to teach people how to manage their emotions like this. Now, if you're new to coaching, if this is like a new concept for you and you really want to change how you feel, I suggest that you start with my podcast. Go back to number 1 and listen to all of them, because it's a free resource for you. And there are other life coaching podcasts, but I'm the only one in dentistry right now who is from the life coach school, who teaches how to do this and is a dentist too. So I think it's a great place to start. And as you listen, you'll hear other resources that I cite. And definitely you can read. I would, if you like to read, I would look up the book by Brooke Castillo called How to Feel Better. And you could also look up a podcast by Chris Plachy, Kris, and then Plachy is Plachy. She is a female entrepreneur life coach. I did some coaching with her. She's amazing. She really helps me with the leadership part of my coaching. I strongly recommend that you look up her podcast as well. And I have one more resource to point out to you. This is what I was alluding to at the beginning of the podcast episode. I have a new freebie for you. It is so good. I am so excited to be announcing that I made a tool for leaders in dentistry. And it is called, what's it called? Constructive Correction for Your Employees. Okay. And this is an online tool. Well, it's like a PDF. You can download it and print it, or you can take notes on it. And it walks you through step by step if you have an employee that you want to correct. And you're like, okay, but what does that have to do with what you were talking about with the feelings? Well, bear with me here. Now, ask yourself, have I ever really looked forward to correcting an employee? No. It's something that you only do if you must, right? You do not want to do that. But aren't there a million little things that you would love to actually have your employees do differently? So this guide uses the coaching principles that I teach to manage your feelings and the feelings of your employee as you are asking them to do something different. And the way that you find this guide for yourself is to go to my website, thelifecoachforbusydentist.com, and you'll just scroll down a little bit too. There is a little banner there that says, get my free guide to correcting employees. And I just love this idea because it's something so handy that you guys can use. And you don't have to promise anything to me to use the guide. I made it as a gift for you because I want your life to be better. You just go there, sign up, and it'll come to you. And if you want to have a pep talk before you talk to your employee, I would be happy to have a pep talk with you, but you don't need one. The guide has everything that you need. So just go download it. Make your life easier. Do yourself a favor. That is all that I have for you today. I hope to be back in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing another one about why feelings matter, but the next one is going to be why the feelings of your employees matter. That's really when we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of leadership and how I can help you be a better leader for your practice. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you after you download your guide. Thank you for listening to Feeling Good, a podcast for dentists. To download my free workbook on how better leadership starts with your feelings, go to my website, thelifecoachforbusydentist.com, and click on Get Free Help.